984 on the Nifty. Uh, I mean, if that becomes the first reference point, of course, and we will keep an eye on the hourly low. But the bank Nifty is the one which I think perhaps is seeing some bit of short covering because it's now trading above the last hour of Friday, and I think that's important. Both HDFC Bank and Axis Bank doing well right now. I think the bank Nifty is the index to focus on if it can build on to gains or not. But Mitesh, what would be your view on the market opening?
As I said, I think we might amble around this 14,850 to 15,250 range, and we are still doing that. But I think you're right. I think I'm looking at the chart of Bank Nifty with a lot of interest. I think in the last 5 days, on 5 or 4 occasions, the Bank Nifty has bounced back from this range of 34,800 to about 35,000. And yesterday also we got a low of around 34,893. So I think this 200-point range is becoming an important base area in case we start getting past 35,750, 800 zone. Then I think there could be a strong reversal which could see the Bank Nifty outperform and get to targets in excess of 37,000. So for the time being, watching the Bank Nifty very, very closely, and any dips to about 35,000, 35,100 would be a buying opportunity with a 300-point stop.
Hey, thank you very much for that, Mitesh. We will of course touch base with you later. But Anuj, actually, what you said is still ringing in my ears. The Nifty Bank is doing well, but it's the PSU banks which are absolutely the cynosure of the market today.
Absolutely. I think it's a bit of a risk on which is back in the market. So that perhaps could be helping. And, of course, the FNO stocks, a couple of them are in bands. So the market perhaps focusing on the non-FNO stocks doing well. Punita Kumar Sinha is joining us now, managing partner at Pacific Paradigm Advisors. Of course, chairperson of Incred AMC as well. And Punita, good morning. Of course, today is Women's Day. Happy Women's Day. And you are, of course, one of the most successful women money managers that I know of. You tell us, what's your view right now, given the kind of cues that we have in the US and in India? What would be your view of the market now?
Well, first of all, happy Women's Day, especially to Lata and Sonia. I think as long as I've been around, I've seen Lata there on CNBC as well, and Sonia also for a long time. So it's great to see us go back a long time. And on this Women's Day, I would like to say congratulations to all the women who are watching the channel, because that means they are in the financial markets.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Anush, to your question, we spoke of a while, not so long ago. And I was of the view, I think that there is still some more upside in the markets. But obviously the easy money has been made and there is more caution to be, kept while investing. I still think it's about the same. We've seen the US bond yields actually spike up a little bit since we last spoke. So the US bond yields have gone up because it's not so much, I think, inflation worries, but I think it's also because the economic recovery is turning out to be strong. And Powell is saying that, keep rates low even now. And so while the short end is going to remain low, the long bond yields are going up because I think, the economy is going to recover. And then obviously that means there is obviously fear of inflation, which I think is a real fear. And that's what has caused some correction in the markets. And I think we'll see some of that dance this year as well. For the remaining year, we will see movements in rates, inflation numbers that will create volatility in the markets, especially given where valuations are. Valuations are not cheap like the way they were several months ago. And so while there are pockets of value around, and I think one will make money if one is, really watching and researching, there is going to be more volatility.
Punita, thank you very much for your greeting. And I want to tell you that Anuj is father to 2 gorgeous daughters. There are more women in Anuj's house than in mine. I live with 2 men, actually. But in any case, coming back to the topic you're speaking about, I wanted to ask you about PSU banks. I mean, you have seen the cycles of Indian policy making. We've never seen such a clear walking back from the nationalization of 1969. We gave new licenses in 1991 to private banks, but we did not walk back from those that were already nationalized. Now the word has come clarion. Is that a place to look? I mean, if this is the end game for all PSU banks?
Yes, I think also there is the need is so strong that the government needs the funds, right? Governments all around the world have given so much stimulus. Look at the US stimulus bill that has been passed. While all the stimulus is great for the markets short term, long term is going to create a lot of problems, right? Governments can't keep printing money forever, and that is why there is worry about inflation. There is worry about yields rising, etc. And that means that governments all around the world need to do something to balance the stimulus in some fashion or the other. And in India too, we part of the divestment and the PSU bank shift in policy is also because the need demands that, and the governments are realizing that, and the government is realizing that. So I think that is going to cause this, as you said, walk back from nationalization to more privatization, be quite strong and more determined. Governments will be more determined to make it happen. So I do expect that PSU banks, there will be a shift.
Okay, there will be a shift. By the way, the market is getting a bit volatile right now, so don't lose sight of that. It is holding on to its gains and in fact picking up a bit of pace on the Nifty. It's holding on to 15,046. The Bank Nifty up almost about 400 points right now. So as we speak, by the minute.
Yeah, no, look at what the statements, this is breaking news coming in. Punita, this is almost like telepathy. Look at the statements that's going on CNBC TV 18 now, breaking news that government is working to amend the Bank Nationalization Act. I think that would be the Banking Companies Act. That is the new name. But this is very important. Can we bring back those flashes of the government official to CNBC TV 18 saying that they are working on amendments to the Banking Companies Act. That was the original Bank Nationalization Act, Acquisition and Transfer Act. And they are planning to bring it to Parliament pretty quickly. Punita, I mean, would you advise your clients to stack up on PSU banks at all?
Yeah, I think there is for two reasons. One, I think in a rising rate environment, and in terms of when the short end is of course very low, but when inflation rises and long bond yields go up, potentially, financials are seen as a reflation trade in general and historically. So financials do better. So that is one. And then when you look at valuation amongst financials, the PSU banks obviously are so cheap compared to the private sector banks. So just on valuations alone, one would look at PSU banks. You have to be very selective. The problem with PSU banks is there are so many to analyze, and one would never really know what's happening to the provisions and NPA policies unless you're really doing a lot of in-depth work on it. So I think I wouldn't say blanket by PSU banks, but yes, PSU banks are where one would find value and one could find good opportunities.
Okay, Punita, morning. So where are you on this growth versus value argument for the rest of the market and for the rest of the year? I mean, do you think that, it's better to buy stocks that appear to be undervalued in the marketplace today, or are you still going with growth-oriented companies?
No, I think that growth to value shift actually started happening late last year itself. And early this year, we've already seen a shift from growth to value. We've seen the cyclicals doing better, and which is where the value stocks have been. So the value stocks across the world have done better than the growth stocks in general. The growth value disparity was very high last year. Growth significantly outperformed value, but right now value and growth have been doing somewhat similarly. So the value has come back in fashion. And I think that value trade is got more legs. And that, which is why I said cyclicals also potentially, we've already seen some of the value stocks outperform, but I think I expect that value will continue to outperform growth, if not at least after a long time equal to growth. So there's opportunity in both, but if you have value and growth in a stock, then that's the stock to be.
Mm-hmm. Would that include some of the utility stocks? In fact, as we speak, Tata Power is surging higher right now, and we've seen big gains in some of these utility names, the power stocks, after perhaps almost 1 decade of not doing anything.
So power stocks actually, yeah, strange across the world, they've never really haven't been a good source of return, and they tend to only do very well generally in certain kinds of environments. I don't know. There has to be a lot of reform on the state electricity board, and the distribution losses, etc., have to reduce for them to really give secular returns, in my view.
Okay. All right, Punita, it's a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, and have a great Women's Day and have a great year ahead.
Thank you, and same to all of you.
Thank you. Okay, well, at the moment, markets, as Sonia correctly described, it's in and out. It's clear that the mid-caps are outperformers, as is the Nifty Bank for the better part of morning. But otherwise, it still looks fragile, doesn't it? The green on the screen, Anuj.
Yeah, perhaps, but if the bank Nifty can continue the outperformance that it's showing right now, and the amount of shorts that it has, I think it could surprise. But I take the point. Just not one of the markets where you want to take aggressive calls. Because this market would be volatile, as it's been all through the last week.
Okay. All right, we're going to continue with getting powerful women leaders, and not just because they're women, but because they are powerful leaders. And so on Women's Day, we are starting with a very powerful woman from India Inc. to get a sense of how things are happening in their area of in their journey to the top, the challenges, the hurdles, the victories. Let's invite Vinita Gupta, CEO Lupin. She joins us now. Vinita, thank you.